only be one terminology. If we say blood, we mean one thing across the board. And these are just a few examples. If we talk about autologous blood, we mean exactly the same thing as it would be here, one in Nairobi, one in Mombasa, one in Turkana, one wherever we are, one meaning. Apheresis would mean the same thing. I'm saying so because there are differences. As you walk from one hospital to the other currently, there seem to be different terminologies which are not good for the safety and application of standards. If we talk about blood components, we mean those products from the blood which are separated by physical means. And as my colleague said, there is no place for whole blood transfusion. None. There is only place for red cells, white cells, plasma, platelets, and plasma products. The standards, therefore, must cut across. This is just an example of a standard. If you have first part of the standard for blood sampling and request for compatibility test, the first thing, request for transfusion. Doctor responsible for the patient care is responsible for the completion of the request. Nobody else. Doctors are not allowed to ask their colleagues to write the transfusion form. They must write it themselves. Appropriate completion of a request form for blood components is critical to safe blood transfusion. On consensus, and our compendium is a WHO and American Association of Blood Bankers, and mainly the manual as brought out by the World Health Organization in the maintenance and use of the blood cold chain. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prof, for sticking to time. This marks the end of our presentations, and we'll move straight to the plenary session. We have mics around the room. Yeah, so any participant, contributor can raise up their hand so that they can raise a question or comment. But just to start off, I would like us to give time for Dr. Eva Njenga. She's the chair of the Medical Practitioners and Dentists Council. We have mentioned matters regulation and standards. So Dr. Njenga, probably in 2 minutes, you can share your input.
Good morning, everybody. It is a great day to be here on a very cold morning, and I can see everybody. I've seen some fire there at the corner. I think that's where I'll head after the plenary. So I really want to thank the organizers of this conference. It's really very timely, and I'm told it's the first one for the region that's covering the topic that is so very, very important to all of us today. The keynote speaker, Professor Kamarogo and Professor Mwada, they've actually told us, given us the gist and an introduction of what is going to be a very interesting 4 days, where we're going to have, and looking at the program, we are going to really look at all aspects of blood transfusion, tissue and organ transplants, and what it is that we are supposed to do, what it entails, so that we can understand the nitty-gritty. And just now when Professor Mwada was saying about there's no place for whole blood transfusion, I remember as a student we used to, when we were writing the forms, we would write whole blood and packed cells. So things have changed. So this education, continuous medical education, is very key for the specialists. So I represent the regulators of the health professionals, the facilities, but I don't want to talk specifically about what the Medical Council does, because we do regulate the professionals, but what we are talking in the next few days will involve several regulators. It cuts across all the regulators in health ministry. Because when you look at the transfusion, tissue transplants, we are talking about the patient, we are talking about the donor, we are also talking about the laboratories that are screening this, we are talking about now the doctor who is making the diagnosis, we are talking about facilities where these services are being offered. So what, as regulators, we are now doing and currently must do is work together, have joint inspections of facilities that are offering the services that are related to these transfusion, tissue, and organ transplants. So and I know we've been working now with a number of other organizations, including the Renal Society, because what Kenya is good now and is established in is kidney transplants. We are still moving on towards establishing or getting centers for liver transplants. Hopefully, in the near future, we will have stem cell therapy, we will have bone marrow transplants. So as we look towards that, do we have the human resource capacity to deal with this? So people specializing in these areas must prove that they do have these qualifications. But who decides what qualifications? These societies, like the Renal Society, is able to tell us who qualifies to be a kidney specialist, who qualifies to be able to perform dialysis or even own a dialysis unit, who is the specialist. So this is where now, as regulators, we are joining hands. We have the laboratories, we have the nurses society, and then we have the pharmacists. And now we also have one oversight society, and I have seen Dr. Kyoko, who is the CEO of the AHPOA, will be speaking to us. So in essence, we are all working together, and I'm very happy to see many stakeholders will be speaking during this conference, so we can come and meet and work towards that framework that will regulate this process. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Njenga. Any reactions from the audience? We have Mike next to you. Okay. So we can take 3 reactions and then response.
Thank you. Thank you to your honor, all the speakers. I've listened carefully, and you have said great things. And what comes out very clearly is where we neglect, because this is a clarion call to actually shift our mindset where we focus on the delivery of health. We have been too much on medical care at clinical level and focused on institutions. And we have completely neglected where things develop and progress towards the point that you need this. I'm talking about devolution of healthcare to be focused at the household level, and also the devolution of policy to be focused at the village and county level. We still have the mindset of centrally placed programs and policy designs, yet we need to force the counties, the villages, to compete with each other on intellectual matter and everything. If on one case where we need blood transfusion, if you go to any emergency department in this country today, you'll find people coming in with HB of 2, HB of 3, HB of 4, and these are pregnant women. And you know that if they go into labor, they only have to lose a very small amount of blood, and they're gone. Therefore, what I'm saying is that the focus of mapping of human beings should happen as a routine thing at the village and at the household level. Everybody should know their HB, their blood group, and their blood picture. so that we talk regional plan by the government to register people on that platform so that we use it at the basis of administering wellness and health care. And we need people and think tanks to be focused on this on a regular basis to open up the space. The space is too much in the center. It's not about regulation. Regulation is very important, but it's about transforming behavior of both people, practitioners, and society to live well. You should be having a map for Dr. Njenga, a map for Kama, a map for Professor Mwanda in his body so that we have a plan to deal with it. Because we're reducing the need for blood if we do this. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. There's a lady behind you.
All the protocol observed.
Good morning.
As a patient, there's something Prof. Mwanda you have said. I'm a sickle cell patient, and you talked about blood components. There's something that we always get. As a sickle cell patient, you'll be given packed cells. Could we divide the blood components to a place where if I lack iron, we just give me iron, and they don't have to get the entire packed cells, or but just to maintain my iron levels and not have iron overload because of always getting and receiving blood. Thank you.
Please, mic on this side. On my left side. So we can take three reactions and then answer from the panelists.
Yes, my name is Francis. My question goes to the first presenter. I wanted just to get Kenyatta Hospital and Nairobi Hospital. I think they belong to the government. Can you give us the difference? Because if you go to Nairobi Hospital, you get good service, you just get a terrible situation there. So I wanted just to get the clarification. Thank you.
Any other reaction? So when you hold the mic, the mid because the antenna is on the base.
Thank you. My name is Dr. Stella Uzawa from Tanzania. I'm the hematologist. I just wanted to my teacher, Professor Wanda. I think he doesn't remember me. He was my external examiner during my MBA final exam. So I just wanted to add on the blood components. As hematologists, we are advocating on blood products instead of whole blood because of minimizing the risk of getting infections as well as overload, especially for pediatric patients. So apart from having the proper blood products, and the technology is moving on, we are advocating also to have the proper treated blood products. We are approaching transplant, renal transplant, bone marrow transplant, liver transplants. These patients, they usually get immunosuppressants, so they are at risk of getting infections. So apart from being blood products, we are advocating of having the leukodepleted blood products as well as irradiated blood products, especially for severely immunosuppressed patients like aplastic anemia or patients who are undergoing to blood products, and they have irradiated to some of the patients. And you have to make sure that for some patients they are even CMV negative, EBV negative, so you have to screen properly the units or the donors before you transfuse units to patients. But also blood products are tissue, as one of the presenters said. So as human tissue, before giving any blood products, you need to get consent from the patient. So we are insisting in Tanzania that blood products are usually also tissue, like renal or blood products to make sure that your patients are consent, they inform consent, they have to sign before receiving blood products. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Stella. So we can have, that was more of a reaction. So, I mean a comment. So, questions we have to, can I get a third question before I turn to my panelists? And we have 10 minutes to go, please. So, one more. Please rush. So, if it's a reaction, comment, keep it short, question, better.
Thank you so much, the panelists. My name is Dr. Philip Nyabere. I'm a family physician. My question goes to the National Blood Transfusion Team. As we are gathered here today, we will talk so much of this concept, but the elephant in the room has been mentioned by, I think, both Professor Rogo and Professor Mwanda. This shortage of blood. It is a menace and it's a reality. Then maybe before we go further, and maybe for the sake of the people who are here, maybe some of us here are not medics. We would like to understand the hierarchy of how this blood is captured, all the way to the regional blood banks, all the way to how I get it, because I come from Nyamira County, for example. Number two, on this issue of in the spirit of integration of services, at the point of at the point of care, when we screen before blood donation, one of the things that I've seen is mandatory, and we know, is that we check for your blood pressure, we check for your hemoglobin levels, and I think we check for your weight, right? In the spirit of integration of services, as a primary healthcare provider, are we able, what do we do in the scenario that these 20 people who came for blood donation voluntarily had high blood pressures? Does it end there? Do we pick it up from there to continue care, to continue to have them screened? And as I finalize, the spirit of, again, voluntarism. The issue is that this is a tissue, as it has been said, and I have it, you have it. That's why we are alive here. Why are we not able to convince people? Is it a question of being able to decentralize further this issue of blood and not just run them through at the national level, trickle this down at my county level? Because those are the things that can easily be devolved so that primary health care can be felt. Why should I in Nyamira struggle to get blood when I can convince person to get these bloods at the sub-county levels and have it after I've had it? Why should I still have a shortage? So that is basically in a nutshell. And maybe just to finalize, in Bangladesh, I learned something about Bangladesh, and I just wanted to say there's a training that is happening about World Bank, something to do with health systems. And this is what they were talking about, network of care. Maybe it's something we can borrow. In Bangladesh, as Prof had said, availability of blood for transfusion is a very perennial challenge in obstetrics emergency and can mean the difference between survival and death. So in Bangladesh, unregulated private actors had stepped in to fill the void, but with unsafe practices and in the absence of alternatives, their services were accepted by desperate patients, like the same case we have here. The private actors were integrated into the local public sector network of care when leadership established agreements with them to implement an online blood information and management system to monitor and increase safety of private blood services. Maybe in the spirit of that, as Prof. you had mentioned, the issue of networking, can we think about having an online way or a digital way platform to do this as we move forward? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Nyabera. So quickly, 2 minutes, Prof. Rogo. Okay, there's a member of the sickle cell family who is here. She talked about iron overload and why not.
Yes, that's true. It's a clear manifestation of some of the problems we get with blood. And it's one of the most containable problems that we get with blood. In fact, once you have had about 2 units of blood transfused within you, there must be concern. There are drugs these days for the removal of iron. Thank God During our days, they used to be injectables. These days, there are oral blood iron removing agents. So just approach one of us and we will be able to put you in the program. Indeed, at the Kenyatta National Hospital, all sickle cell patients are screened for iron overload and put on the program for removing of iron.
Thank you, Prof. Professor Rogo, KNH, Nairobi Hospital being government facilities.
I believe that's why we're here for 4 days. And I would not want to respond to that in detail. It would take a whole day. I have the answer. I think that what we ought to be looking at is what a friend of mine has talked about there. Do we have shortage of blood? I'm retired now on the shores of Lake Victoria, and people are thirsty there. Do they have shortage of water? That's a question.
We need the standards first.
So, sorry, the CS is already around. So NBTS hierarchy, the head of NBTS are not in the room, but Professor Mwanda can attempt to answer or comment on Dr. Nyabera's concerns.
Yes, there are two things. Historically, how blood got into the medical profession is because of the ethics that are required. And because it was only doctors and nurses at that time that were in charge and were to take care of the human life. You may know, sadly, that those people long time ago, they used to take blood and they were called kachija, meaning people being cut to take the blood. So the easiest way was for the government to put it in the medical profession so that with time, it will involve the rest. But whoever talked about the devolution, we need the standards first. We need each and every one to be educated on the use of the standards. We need the uniformity so that once we have the standards, it doesn't matter where the transfusion is being done, where the care is being taken. So first and foremost, let's have the standards.
Thank you, Prof. Dr. Nyamera will continue the conversation in the other sessions. Maybe in 2 minutes, we'll ask Dr. Swaibu Katare to talk about the African Society. 2 minutes, strictly.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Katare Swaib, and I'm a blood transfusionist. Trained and worked in Belgium and the Belgian National Blood Service. And I'm here representing the Africa Society for Blood Transfusion. To briefly tell you about AFSBT, I came with a presentation that will be shared by the team. They'll PDF it and share it to each and every one of you. And I'm here just to give you a short background of the AFSBT, which is an African society. And the idea to set up an African society on blood safety came in the early 90s when the WHO led campaigns to prevent transmission of HIV through transfusion. And in 1997, during the ICASA conference in Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire, a team of African blood transfusionists came up with the idea to set up the AFSBT. And 4 years later, in 2011, the AFSBT was registered in South Africa as a non-profit company. And in collaboration with the American Association of Blood Banks, which changed names to Association of Advancement of Blood and Biotherapies currently, we came up with standards that have been categorized in 3, which is step 1, step 2, and step 3. The reason being that in Africa, we have countries at different levels of safety, so it couldn't be a one-shoe-fits-all. So we have step 1 standards that are basics, step 2 that are intermediate, and then step 3 requirements that are at international level, and that's what we call accreditation. So these standards are in 23 parts, as I said, in 3 sections. We have section A that talks about the quality in general. We have section B, which talks about the techniques of the transfusion service. And then section C, which is about plasma fractionation, when you want to get medicines out of plasma. So far we have 25 countries that have been enrolled into this program. We call it a stepwise accreditation program. And we have assessors that have been over 30 that have been trained to conduct assessments all over Africa and even outside Africa. Today we are talking about Cambodia as one of the members of the FSBT SWAP program. And we have also Kenya that has enrolled into the program. And we have other countries that are coming on board. So our standards have been accredited by the International Society of Quality in Healthcare, ISQA, from 2021 to 2025. So the rest and the details of the FSBT you'll get from the presentation that I had prepared. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Dr. Ivan Njenga, you can wind up the session, please.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to maybe answer a comment or highlight something a colleague, a family physician brought up, and also about devolving the services and marking all of us, either specialists or dog patients, and the wellness, mapping out of where everybody is. UHC, and I'm sure you're going to hear this in the next few days, universal health coverage just means that. We are going to deliver that universal health coverage. And registration of people wherever they are, starting with even the professionals. At the Kenya Medical Council, we have registered each and everybody, and you can go to the website, and if you want an obstetrician in Kisumu or in Garissa, you'll be able to pick that from the website. The same thing is happening now to the Nursing Council, the KMTC. That indexing of even students as they graduate, what you have talked about, that we know where everybody is, where other countries people carry cards and saying, I want to donate my cornea, I want to donate this in case of anything. I think this is what you have said it very rightly. We need to do that. And I think what the organizers and the people from the blood transfusion services, people that are dealing with the regulations and the framework, they have prepared for us this information about the hubs and spokes of all the centers, what is going to happen. So please just be patient. You're going to get all that information. So, and I think at the end of the 3 days, we will have to have a very comprehensive, and you'll be given a very comprehensive view of the steps. In the last 18 months, a lot has happened in this sector. So we will know how the places, and somebody says that there is no blood in KNH. Now you will know how easy it will be, not just to get blood in KNH, but to get blood in any county. So you'll be able to know where all these counties, blood centers, blood banks are established. So I beg of you to just wait for the next few sessions, because this was just an opening, a cutting laser. The big thing is coming. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ivan Jenga. And we all agree this sets space for the next 3 days that we are going to discuss matters blood transfusion and organ transplant. So on behalf of this wonderful panel and speakers, I would like to say thank you and welcome again for the next 3 days. So I'll hand over to Flavor for the next session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. And of course, our very, very able, gifted brains. Please, let's give it up one more time for these wonderful people. I've never heard the word transfusion so many times in my life in one day. I'm not a medic, but I've learned one or two things that I'll go out there today and I'll use the word transfusion in context. I'll encourage you to do the same as well. I'd like to invite Caroline, First Lady of Bungoma County, Wamagachi. Is she in the house? Please put your hands together for her. Please join me on stage. She'll be appreciating our panelists. I'd like to invite Sylvia to come with gifts, just so that we may appreciate them and tell them asante sana for taking that extra hour or two in the night to burn that midnight oil and come and give us this knowledge, almost free of charge. So the first one to come, and please, when you receive your gifts, just wait on stage because we'll take a group picture after we are done. Who's the first one? Dr. Gatari Soib. Makofi tafadhali. The next one is Dixon. What's the name on the next one? Our able moderator, please give it up for him, please. Mimi namjua kama mchana, sio usiku. Dr. Dixon mchana, please. Asante. Who's the next one? Please put our hands together for the only lady on this man team. At least we are gender balanced. Thank you, Dr. Makofi. The good old grand professor. As you relax on Lake Victoria, you have a lion there now. Makofi kwa prof. Ndovu yenyewe kabisa. Makofi. Thank you very much. Now, if you would all come to the front with the big five. I think that was the theme. Madam, you'll stand with us as well, please. Yes. Without you, they will not be holding those gifts. Yes, the ladies in the middle, right? Okay. Wenye picha tafadhali twanga hiyo na ifanye headline news kesho. Hatutaki mambo ingine. If you could all smile, think about transfusion as you smile. If you'll help us. Mmepiga picha? Asante. Thank you very much, our panelists. You may take your leave. God bless you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a short break. There is tea that is served outside. When we come back, we'll be back for our second session, which will be the official launch. I will ask you not to spread out too far. Just kindly take your tea on the high tables, or you can take it and come back inside. We'll be convening back at about 11:15. So make it hasty. God bless.
Sikuwa hivi, mama. Ayo hapo zamani mama, Sonia Bombay. Sasa hapo zamani mama, sikuwa hivi, mama. Ayo hapo zamani mama, Sonia Bombay, mama. Nindi bona dingena kayanje kunganwa ya mabulu babo, mama. Nindi bona dingena kayanje kunganwa ya mabulu babo, mama.
Where we have achieved tremendous progress in terms of being able to increase access and availability of blood products in the country. We have achieved in making substantial investment in one, repairing our equipment that had broken down. We have replaced some of our very old equipment that basically was outdated even in terms of technology and was not functional. So we have revamped the whole infrastructure of blood services in the country. We have availed investment to ensure that at any given time we have a clear pipeline of blood bags, of laboratory reagents, and all the other attendant health products that are needed to manage the issue of blood transfusion, separation of blood products. So I think for us, really, tremendous achievement has been made. I'm happy we now have a proper health system, information technology system dedicated for blood. So we are able to trace blood from the vein of the donor to the vein of the recipient. And that's a huge milestone for the country. We're in the process of rolling it out, and it will make sure that we do not have a single loss of blood, and we are able to account for each blood. Blood services is one area where we have achieved tremendous progress in terms of being able to increase access and availability of blood products in the country. We have achieved in making substantial investment in one, repairing our equipment that had broken down. We have replaced some of our very old equipment that basically was outdated even in terms of technology and was not functional. So we have revamped the whole infrastructure of blood services in the country. We have
The Ministry of Health, through the Kenya National Blood Transfusion and Transplant Service, Knbts, has been collecting and distributing blood since the year 2000. Blood is indeed vital to life. Did you know that 50% of deaths that occur during pregnancy are related to lack of blood? In an effort to enhance transparency, accountability, and efficiency, Knbts has developed a homegrown digital platform for Kenyans by Kenyans, called Damu-KE. Damu-KE is an online application that automates blood management workflow, promoting effective vein-to-vein tracking and tracing of blood and blood products. The application shows the blood donation statistics nationally, enabling the monitoring and equal distribution of available blood across facilities, using a multi-tenant design architecture. When a potential donor arrives for a blood donation, they are registered using a valid identification document. The donor provides their personal details, social history, and their next of kin. After registration, the donor moves to the counseling room. The nurse then administers a health questionnaire, a risk assessment form, and their vitals are captured for eligibility to donate blood. Damu-KE records the assigned bag for the eligible donor, and blood donation begins. This process takes approximately 15 minutes. The blood collected is dispatched to the lab for screening and component separation. These results will be available to the requesting transfusing facility instantly once updated to Damu-KE. The blood donation site will create an inventory, where health facilities across the country can request for blood using the Damu-KE application. Damu-KE manages both blood donors and blood recipients. Where transfusion is needed, the blood recipient receives blood requested from the blood bank. Any adverse effects during and after the transfusion are recorded. The blood donor will be notified that their blood donation has been used to save a life. This completes vein-to-vein tracking. As part of the national health standards, all transfusing facilities, public and private, will be onboarded to the Knbts platform. Knbts will enhance availability of blood products across our beautiful republic. Donate blood to save a life today. Log into portal.health.go.ke to register and donate blood. The Ministry of Health, through the Kenya National Blood Transfusion and Transplant Service, Knbts, has been collecting and distributing blood since the year 2000. Blood is indeed vital to life. Did you know that 50% of deaths that occur during pregnancy are related to lack of blood? In an effort to enhance transparency, accountability, and efficiency, Knbts has developed a homegrown digital platform for Kenyans by Kenyans, called Knbts. Knbts is an online application that automates blood management workflow, promoting effective vein-to-vein tracking and tracing of blood and blood products. The application shows the blood donation statistics nationally, enabling the monitoring and equal distribution of available blood across facilities, using a multi-tenant design architecture. When a potential donor arrives for a blood donation, they are registered using a valid identification document. The donor provides their personal details, social history, and their next of kin. After registration, the donor moves to the counseling room. The nurse then administers a health questionnaire, a risk assessment form, and their vitals are captured for eligibility to donate blood. Knbts records the assigned bag for the eligible donor, and blood donation begins. This process takes approximately 15 minutes. The blood collected is dispatched to the lab for screening and component separation. These results will be available to the requesting transfusing facility instantly once updated to Knbts. The blood donation site will create an inventory, where health facilities across the country can request for blood using the Knbts application. Knbts manages both blood donors and blood recipients. Where transfusion is needed, the blood recipient receives blood requested from the blood bank. Any adverse effects during and after the transfusion are recorded. The blood donor will be notified that their blood donation has been used to save a life. This completes vein-to-vein tracking. As part of the national health standards, all transfusing facilities, public and private, will be onboarded to the Knbts platform. Knbts will enhance availability of blood products across our beautiful republic. Donate blood to save a life today. Log into portal.health.go.ke to register and donate blood. The Ministry of Health, through the Kenya National Blood Transfusion and Transplant Service, Knbts, has been collecting and distributing blood since the year 2000. Blood is indeed vital to life. Did you know that 50% of deaths that occur during pregnancy are related to lack of blood? In an effort to enhance transparency, accountability, and efficiency, Knbts has developed a homegrown digital platform for Kenyans by Kenyans, called Knbts. Knbts is an online application that automates blood management workflow, promoting effective vein-to-vein tracking and tracing of blood and blood products. The application shows the blood donation statistics nationally, enabling the monitoring and equal distribution of available blood across facilities, using a multi-tenant design architecture. When a potential donor arrives for a blood donation, they are registered using a valid identification document. The donor provides their personal details, social history, and their next of kin. After registration, the donor moves to the counseling room. The nurse then administers a health questionnaire, a risk assessment form, and their vitals are captured for eligibility to donate blood. Knbts records the assigned bag for the eligible donor, and blood donation begins. This process takes approximately 15 minutes. The blood collected is dispatched to the lab for screening and component separation. These results will be available to the requesting transfusing facility instantly once updated to Knbts. The blood donation site will create an inventory, where health facilities across the country can request for blood using the DAMU-KE application. DAMU-KE manages both blood donors and blood recipients. Where transfusion is needed, the blood recipient receives blood requested from the blood bank. Any adverse effects during and after the transfusion are recorded. The blood donor will be notified that their blood donation has been used to save a life. This completes vein-to-vein tracking. As part of the national health standards, all transfusing facilities, public and private, will be onboarded to the DAMU-KE platform. DAMU-KE will enhance availability of blood products across our beautiful republic. Donate blood to save a life today. Log into portal.health.go.ke to register and donate blood. The Ministry of Health, through the Kenya National Blood Transfusion and Transplant Service, Knbts, has been collecting and distributing blood since the year 2000. Blood is indeed vital to life. Did you know that 50% of deaths that occur during pregnancy are related to lack of blood? In an effort to enhance transparency, accountability, and efficiency, Knbts has developed a homegrown digital platform for Kenyans by Kenyans called DAMU-KE. DAMU-KE is an online application that automates blood management workflow, promoting effective vein-to-vein tracking and tracing of blood and blood products. The application shows the blood donation statistics nationally, enabling the monitoring and equal distribution of available blood across facilities, using a multi-tenant design architecture. When a potential donor arrives for a blood donation, they are registered using a valid identification document. The donor provides their personal details, social history, and their next of kin. After registration, the donor moves to the counseling room. The nurse then administers a health questionnaire, a risk assessment form, and their vitals are captured for eligibility to donate blood. DAMU-KE records the assigned bag for the eligible donor, and blood donation begins. This process takes approximately 15 minutes. The blood collected is dispatched to the lab for screening and component separation. These results will be available to the requesting transfusing facility instantly once updated to DAMU-KE. The blood donation site will create an inventory, where health facilities across the country can request for blood using the DAMU-KE application. DAMU-KE manages both blood donors and blood recipients. Where transfusion is needed, the blood recipient receives blood requested from the blood bank. Any adverse effects during and after the transfusion are recorded. The blood donor will be notified that their blood donation has been used to save a life. This completes vein-to-vein tracking. As part of the national health standards, all transfusing facilities, public and private, will be onboarded to the DAMU-KE platform. DAMU-KE will enhance availability of blood products across our beautiful republic. Donate blood to save a life today. Log into portal.health.go.ke to register and donate blood. The Ministry of Health, through the Kenya National Blood Transfusion and Transplant Service, Knbts, has been collecting and distributing blood since the year 2000. Blood is indeed vital to life. Did you know that 50% of deaths that occur during pregnancy are related to lack of blood? In an effort to enhance transparency, accountability, and efficiency, Knbts has developed a homegrown digital platform for Kenyans by Kenyans called DAMU-KE. DAMU-KE is an online application that automates blood management workflow, promoting effective vein-to-vein tracking and tracing of blood and blood products. The application shows the blood donation statistics nationally, enabling the monitoring and equal distribution of available blood across facilities, using a multi-tenant design architecture. When a potential donor arrives for a blood donation, they are registered using a valid identification document. The donor provides their personal details, social history, and their next of kin. After registration, the donor moves to the counseling room. The nurse then administers a health questionnaire, a risk assessment form, and their vitals are captured for eligibility to donate blood. DAMU-KE records the assigned bag for the eligible donor, and blood donation begins. This process takes approximately 15 minutes. The blood collected is dispatched to the lab for screening and component separation. These results will be available to the requesting transfusing facility.
Availed investment to ensure that at any given time we have a clear pipeline of blood bags, of laboratory reagents, and all the other attendant health products that are needed to manage the issue of blood transfusion, separation of blood products. So I think for us, really, tremendous achievement has been made. I'm happy we now have a proper health system, information technology system dedicated for blood. So we are able to trace blood from the vein of the donor to the vein of the recipient. And that's a huge milestone for the country. We're in the process of rolling it out, and it will make sure that we do not have a single loss of blood, and we are able to account for each blood. Blood services is one area where we have achieved tremendous progress in terms of being able to increase access and availability of blood products in the country. We have achieved in making substantial investment in repairing our equipment that had broken down. We have replaced some of our very old equipment that basically was outdated even in terms of technology and was not functional. So we have revamped the whole infrastructure of blood services in the country. We have availed investment to ensure that at any given time we have a clear pipeline of blood bags, of laboratory reagents, and all the other attendant health products that are needed to manage the issue of blood transfusion, separation of blood products. So I think for us, really, tremendous achievement has been made. I'm happy we now have a proper health system, information technology system dedicated for blood. So we are able to trace blood from the vein of the donor to the vein of the recipient. And that's a huge milestone for the country. We're in the process of rolling it out, and it will make sure that we do not have a single loss of blood, and we are able to account for each blood. Blood services is one area where we have achieved tremendous progress in terms of being able to increase access and availability.
want to thank all of you who are donors today, and again, agree with our MC that moving forward, we try as much as possible to be donors as well. So it gives me great pleasure to join you this first conference of its kind in Africa to deliberate the future of blood transfusion and transplant services. I did note that we have some speakers who have joined us from the other borders, while nationally we have representation from every county in this republic. Thank you all very much from the counties. As a ministry, we have always believed that we should work with county governments. And at an individual level, I spent 5 years in the Senate as a defender of counties and devolution. And therefore, that's why it is important for us to work together as Duku, as originally said. So your participation in this conference is a testament of your commitment towards ensuring sufficiency of safe blood products and organs for all who need them. The Ministry of Health has made significant investments in the health sector to drive universal health coverage, the promise of His Excellency the President to Kenyans. It is known that COVID-19 pandemic brought unprecedented challenges to our health sector and economy. We pulled together as a national and county governments, stakeholders, communities, policymakers, and practitioners in the public-private spheres to chart our own course. We strengthened our health institutions. You will all remember the pace we were working at to ensure that every county has bed capacity, every county has ICU facilities, and we strengthened our health institutions. We expanded healthcare services to Mwananchi at the grassroots level. We grew our manufacturing capacity. It also provided us an opportunity to reform our health institutions, with one such institution being the Kenya National Blood Transfusion Services, whose mandate has also been expanded now to include tissue and human organ transplants. I think it is important for us to recognize that prior to this expansion, there was no framework. Dr. Muga, you know this, there was no framework where there is a system, a structure. If you want to donate an organ, where would you have gone? How would you have done it? How legally would you have protected yourself and the person you are donating to? There was no infrastructure for organ donation. Now we have it. So that, if, for example, you've got a very good eyesight, and you know that you've got an accident and unaenda kabisa, bas, you leave us with the eyes. Why go with good things? There's no need. If I'm in need of a kidney, now unaenda, why's your kidney? And so this framework was not there. And it is just now when we have developed the guidelines along which you are able to donate organs. Some of you may also recall how bad our service management was not too long ago, where we could not account for our blood stocks, with some even being sold to neighboring countries, leaving our people in need. This was not tenable, and we needed to effect changes in this important sector. And we have made significant gains in 17 months of reforms in the blood transfusion services initiated with a change of leadership and management. And I want to congratulate Dr. Duku, because honestly, like Dr. Muga said, don't thank me when I can't hear. So I also want to say, Duku, we know what you have done with your team, We don't take it for granted, and congratulations for a job well done. We have invested in renovations, repairs, and servicing of regional blood testing centers and settlements. We only had 2 testing centers functioning with a testing capacity of 650 units of blood tested per day. Today, we have 6 centers, with 1 each in Mombasa, Nairobi, Embu, Eldoret, Nakuru, and Kisumu, with a capacity of 2,500 daily tests. This translates to 650,000 annual tests over 260 working days, and moving to 1 million testing capacity in the next 30 days. And these centers aggregate blood samples from counties and blood transfusion hospital and screen each blood unit for HIV, syphilis, hepatitis B and C. They undertake blood group typing, and results are transmitted back within 48 hours anywhere in the country. This is the backbone of the safety of blood that Kenyans receive for transfusion. The above investments and new partnership for donor mobilization have borne results. In the past 17 months, we have realized over 480,000 units of blood and blood products donated by Kenyans. This brings us closer than ever before towards meeting our minimum annual demand of 500,000 units. Importantly, we have served over 450,000 Kenyans with blood and blood products between 2021 to the present day, more than ever in the same time period since independence. We have also made long-term investments in modern blood processing, storing, testing equipment, and distribution mechanisms across the country. We have secured our supply chain of blood bags and reagents, ensuring that safe blood for Kenyans will always be available in a timely manner. I believe these investments will serve Kenyans for years to come. It is gratifying to note that the impact of these investments is being witnessed in lives of Kenyans, and we have just witnessed a testimonial of a real case. A lady who has 3 kids, voters, 3 potential voters, and without blood transfusion, there would have been none. Her story would have been a different story altogether. She probably have been a statistic. Today, she's a sister, she's a daughter, sitting here with us. So it is really gratifying to know that the impact of these investments is already being witnessed in lives of Kenyans. In our host county, here in Kiambu, and I am one of those who will walk out with a plot, the one that is suku. In our host county, in this county, Thika Referral Hospital, maternal mortality has significantly dropped. Between October and December of 2020, that's only a very short time ago, 19 mothers died, most of them from bleeding complications. Compared to January to March in 2022, only 2 mothers lost their lives. And none of it is attributed to lack of blood. In the same period, in Pumwani Maternity Hospital, 5 mothers died in 2020 as compared to 0 in 2022. There should be no reason in modern society, in modern Kenya, why a mother should die because of lack of And I agree completely. And I have learned something today. You know, you live and learn. I've learned something today. I think it should be mandatory. If you are a father, why should the mother be losing blood alone? So you are not losing, you are giving. So I think it should be mandatory. Once you take your wife to the maternity, next door is the facility where you go and roll up your sleeves and do your thing. I think it should just be done. And while we are at it, if you have got a sister, and she's also gone to maternity, and she's your sister, why wouldn't you be there also to help her? Why wouldn't you go there also to give blood? So I think if that notion is taken, as well as others that I have proposed to Dr. Duku, including, sectionalizing Kenyans in the category that they have. For example, Kennedy is a platinum donor. Maybe there are some of you here who are gold donors, and others who are silver donors, others of course of zero. But there should be no reason why you should not fit into one of those categories. At least be a silver. If you can't be a gold donor, to be a silver donor, you have given at least once. How many people have given blood at least once? At least once. Oh, okay. It's not so bad, Dr. Rogo, it's not that bad. So let's go on with it. And of course, it means that if you have got 9 children, you should have given blood at least 9 times. So ladies and gentlemen, we have recognized that to attain and safeguard universal health coverage, we must go beyond blood transfusion service and begin making investments in the ability of Kenyans to access safe organs and transplant services. It is estimated that Kenyans seeking advanced medical care outside the country spend about 10 billion shillings annually. This is not sustainable, especially with increasing non-communicable diseases and other blood and bleeding disorders that can be treated in the country. In order to institutionalize and safeguard the gains made, we have developed the Kenya policy on donations, transfusion, and transplant of human-derived medical products. This is the first integrated blood policy on blood, tissue, and organ in Eastern and Central, and indeed in the whole of this region within Africa. This conference, therefore, comes at an opportune time, not only for Kenya, but for our region. It allows us to reflect on how to strengthen our ability to offer blood products, tissues, and organs to our people. Having coherent policy and regulatory approaches will provide access to more people with ethical and safe human-derived medical products. The conference also provides us with a platform for the creation of strategic, private and public partnership to spur transfer of state-of-the-art technologies in biomedical and laboratory sciences and therapies. This, in turn, will reduce the number of citizens from our region who seek advanced medical care abroad. Advanced medical care should be available here. This must be our collective goal in the region. Ladies and gentlemen, advancing Kenya's universal health coverage includes being a preferred destination for healthcare in the region. To secure this future, the Ministry will prioritize, as part of our medium-term plan 4, a Kenyan Blood and Organ Center. The center will host a strategic blood products reserve bank to eliminate shortages during emergencies with a nationally coordinated deployment mechanism. It will include an organs and stem cell bank for a repository of available products and therefore facilitate implementation of an organ compatibility matching and allocation scheme. This will allow patients in need to be matched with available tissues, thus promoting equitable access for all seeking these critical services. And in order to safeguard quality of these products, the first blood and organ reference laboratory will be established to serve Eastern and Central Africa. We will also invest in training human resource with capacity for specialized transfusion and transplant medicine and research. The backbone of our aspirations of our medical tourism is the availability of ready cells, tissues, advanced blood plasma products, and organs as they are in the foundation of advanced therapies and science. In line with the 75th World Health Organization's resolution A75/40, we will invest in local manufacturing of plasma derivatives for use in advanced medical care and production of medicines. These investments will provide the necessary support services to institutions in the private and public sector undertaking transfusion and transplant services, such as the recently opened Kenyatta National Hospital Kidney Disease and Organ Transplant Center, by offering services for ethical sourcing and banking of blood products, cells, and organs that are safe for treatment of all Kenyans. So, ladies and gentlemen, part of the challenge in the management of blood services in the past has been reliance on archaic system dependent on manual interventions. To address this challenge, my ministry has invested in digitizing health by leveraging technology. I am therefore pleased to be launching the Kenya Blood Banking Information System, after which this conference is named DAMO-KE. This system provides us with the confidence that our services will be managed in a way that ensures efficiency and security of our products. I urge all to now take advantage of this to assist in building capacity for the health system to respond to critical needs by registering as donors. This system shall be used in both private and public sector, and will account for all blood organs that are donated, transfused, and transplanted. It will be anchored on national standards for blood transfusion services and on the principle that human-derived medical products are a national resource. I urge the private sector to join us in promoting equitable access to blood products. We know that blood products are collected from our testing centers when they are safe and ready for use. But we have seen Kenyans charged as much as 50,000 shillings for those same products. And I would like to see a costing reference to manage the charges of blood for equitable access going forward. There should be no need, and it is unethical for a hospital to be charging for something that they got free from the government. Because those products, these products come from Kenyans. And Kennedy here has not been charging us for donating blood. We get the blood, we process it, and we give it even to hospitals. So for a hospital to then charge what Kennedy has given us free, I mean, what am I missing? What is this I'm missing? I can understand if they say they spend 100 shillings in putting it in the refrigerator, but to charge 50,000 shillings for something that they got for free is unethical. And NHIF, because you are here, I think I saw Kamunyo here, these are some of the things you should not pay for. You should not agree to refund for products that are free. And also, Dr. Duku, moving forward, if an institution is charging for products that you give them for free, stop giving them those products. So, brothers and sisters, it is not that we are being mean. It is the people who are charging for these products that are being mean to Kenyans. It is unnecessary, and it's one of the services that you should give anyway. So if you want to charge for blood, then you need to charge in another country, not this one. So in this journey, I particularly wish to acknowledge county governments. The collaboration between national and county governments that was strengthened during the COVID period is espoused in the intergovernmental framework on coordination of blood transfusion services that we will be launching today. And I agree with Dr. Boga that we must have a framework. And I promise you, Dr. we are going to work on it. But I also want to ask you, as we do so, to ensure that when we come up with the products that we get full cooperation from the county governments, because sometimes there is misunderstanding that delays some of these activities. But I'm glad that so far, so good, we will do what we need to do. With this framework, we have seen the increase in county blood banks by over 50%, from 30 to 45, and are driving towards each county having a blood bank. There should be no reason why every county in this nation should not have a blood bank. Over the years, many Kenyans, as individuals and organized associations, have come forth to donate blood. I acknowledge the Rotary Clubs of Kenya, universities, the Border Association, the Red Cross, the Hindu Council, the Christian Health Association, the African Resource Center, the Coalition for Blood Africa, the World Health Organization, the media, corporations, who have also included blood donations as part of their social responsibility, among very, very many Kenyans who have come forward to create the success that we can now begin to see. But I especially want to recognize the Kenya Defense Forces, the Kenya Police, and the National Youth Service, who have established formal collaborations with the Kenya National Blood Transfusion, Tissue, and Human Organ Transplant Service as regular donors. I thank those members of the diplomatic corps who have joined Kenyans as regular blood donors. In particular, I'm honored to recognize two outstanding Kenyans who, for the last 28 years, have chosen to donate blood, especially giving back for the gifts. And I don't want to go back to Kennedy and sawdust, but I believe Kennedy, in this month of July, if you have done 99, so in the month of July, you get 100. In August, you'll get 100.